Well,
Go, we're
name.
live! All right. It's Patron Hangout Day, and it's a busy night because Doctor Strange came out this weekend, and there's WKOs this weekend, my own WKO included. So who knows who's going to be on the show tonight? We might have some late joiners. Hopefully they come in quietly. But this is what we do once a month. On the first Friday of the month, we watch Amber make faces at the camera while I explain what the Patron Hangout is. So you can join us at patreon.com/marriedwithclix. And if you happen to choose to become a patron, just give us a little bit of money to directly support the channel. You can join this Patron Hangout. If you give us a little bit more money, you get a little bit more as you go. There's all kinds of awesome things, and we got goals in order to make the channel a little better. So hopefully we can start reaching a little bit more of those goals. We're on renovation month, so we're starting to fix a bunch of things that we've been that have been lax on the channel, and hopefully everything starts to fix itself soon, and hopefully nothing gets in the way of that. But in the meantime, I guess it's time to get started. So, Mike, since you're 100% of the attendance today, the floor is yours, sir.
Alrighty. Sorry. I guess the lighting is kind of bad in here. Like I don't.
It's not right here
like.
either. Oh, it's all my hats. That's what it is.
Yeah. So, I want to say, hey, thanks for doing the Metafix 101. If you're watching this on recorded time, pause it now. Go back and I want put in a plug to hey go watch the Metafix episode 101, and it kind of gave me an idea where you mentioned all the different teams and stuff like that, and whether or not players kind of angle towards different teams and stuff. So I think I'm pretty good at using the pieces that produce other characters. And I wanted to ask you guys, do you like see that more and more? Is it going to be a growing trend in the metagame, like it where you're going to see a piece or two that's that produces more characters?
So this started a little bit ways back in Galactic Guardians. I think it was the first set we saw this ability to make another character altogether in Doctor Strange. We've seen other versions of it too. Captain America actually had Squirrel Girl and Falcon, who actually had little pieces on their thing that they took off. You had Red Wing for Falcon, and you had Monkey Joe for Squirrel Girl. It's a thing that's evolved into something awesome. Let's not kid ourselves. It's only gotten better. We started with the little animals with some of the characters. We went to Eva from Phantom X, the Doctor Strange, Astro Doctor Stranges, as I mentioned in Galactic Guardians. Then we started to see a lot of Pog generation. We did see Multiple Man in Wolverine and the X-Men, who was very accurate to comic. Took a little bit of damage and made multiple men based on the amount of damage he took. So that was it's been a cool strategy that's existed for a while. I call it the figure factory, where you end up with more figures on the board than you started with, and it's a super effective strategy, especially now in an environment where the round table exists, because a lot of people don't take into account the fact that when you're attacking Pogs, with the round table, if you assault a Pog for 3 damage, the 3 damage being assigned to that Pog does trigger on the round table, regardless of how much damage you actually take. It's the damage that's assigned so long as you take damage. So it moves it fairly quickly. And the amount that you're creating is amazing. And the fact that you can throw them at your opponent with reckless abandon, because almost all the Pogs are worth 0 points. I think the only character who's making Pogs right now that give your opponent points is High Evolutionary, and you'll see that he doesn't show up in competitive play. He's the neat character, but I'm not giving my opponent 15 points. I'm giving them 0 for killing my Hate Bears, or my Homicide Crabs, or my Rockabilly Modocs. I'm talking about Devil Dinosaur, of course. And then with the Penguin just around the corner, that's bringing out individual versions of what Devil Dinosaur brings, and not limited in the way that Devil Dinosaur is. He just brings them out. It's like, I happen to need the Sidestep Pulse Wave one, so we're using Sidestep Pulse Wave for a little while. I need the Running Shot one, so let's go. That Penguin is going to be a force to reckon with, and combined with the Devil Dinosaur is amazing. And it really lends itself to people who do like like myself. Everybody accuses me, and they're correct in the accusation that I have idle hand syndrome. I can't sit there with a team of like 2 or 3 figures. I need 1,000 things that I can be like pointing at and tapping and counting from in a single turn to actually help me think through a turn. But all in all, what we're seeing from the strategy as it gets better and better, progresses more and more, and we see more and more different iterations of it, it's getting better. It's getting great. It's dialing back a little, but it's still good. So I like the idea that, you know, I mean, and the other thing, like I said, it gives extra value to that new Mephisto. Because the new Mephisto gives, if you have a character who attacks and they happen to miss the attack, you can put a contract token on that gives them -1 defense, but then they can use probability control. Well, I don't care that my 0-point character, who's probably going to die anyway next turn, is going to be -1 defense. I've already written him off because he's done his attack. He's making the attack that I need him to make right now. So I see a lot of value in that in the stratagem of bring a bunch of characters from outside the board into the game, and I mean it's present now. Like the amount of success that Devil Dinosaur has seen on his own proves that this strategy is great. Go ahead, Amber. You know me.
What he said. It's actually pretty cool to point out that, as Jason went on and on and on about Devil Dinosaur, is that is a figure that was made by HeroClix players. It was designed by Team Failboat, who of course is Tim Bold, Derek Thompson, and Nick Peterson. And so they, like, as much as like that's a really good design, we can't necessarily count that in the fact that that was a player design or a player made character, but it's also not something that's going away, as we can obviously tell with Penguin coming out. Now Riddler does also have a detachable thing, but it's not a character. That's just going to be a thing. Same with like Batman with the bomb. It's something that's just kind of with him.
Clix
not
FX bases.
Not a character. I can't think off the top of my head if there is anybody else from Superior Foes of Spider-Man that creates characters.
Vermin.
Pardon?
Vermin.
Oh, yes, Vermin and his rats. And that's actually a really good example too, because those rats will just keep coming out. Unlike Devil Dinosaur, who does have a restrictor on him, those will just keep coming out and kill them, and they'll just come out.
He's restricted
at a time, right? Though
3 of each at a time.
Sorry, Devil Dinosaur. Yes,
yeah.
Yes. But like once they're
restriction.
Yes, but once they're done, they're not coming back.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. Whereas the Vermins, it doesn't matter how many times you kill his rats; those rats will come back.
Yeah.
And then like the turtle set, we saw Subprime and Shen Khan. You keep just like saying things in my, and I can't say things properly because you're just in my ear.
Rat King.
So Rat King creates things. Not at all the character that I was trying to talk about.
He came first.
He came first.
Rat King was in the Rat King I'm talking about is TMNT Series 1.
Okay, but I'm talking about TMNT Series 2.
Yeah,
because
but those are very limited versions.
Yeah,
both those are single releases. Whereas the Rat King I'm referring to, you're limited to 3 at a time, but not limited in the number that you can bring in. Right?
This is the face that's going to punch him. It's a mechanic that's not going away. It's basically what we're trying to say here. We get 1 or 2 per set now, which is great. I think it's a great mechanic. I think it should keep going. I wouldn't mind spending just maybe a little bit more to actually get physical copies of these things, but that's a completely different discussion.
Yeah.
And hey, now we're supporting independent people because people love making these bystander tokens that we're not being supplied with.
That I do really appreciate. Is the number of people I know our first go-to is Big Bullet Games, the guys that actually make our Patron tokens. But I've dealt with other people in the community because I do like to spread the love to some degree. And while we were at Rock Worlds, I had initially had Amber print off copies of all the tokens that come off of Devil Dinosaur. And then I cut them out, and we had some extra Patron tokens. I glue gunned them on with the paper copy, and I thought they were terrible.
It was very MacGyvered.
I didn't think that I was going to be playing Devil Dinosaur until the week before, and given shipping times. I just didn't have the time to order it from one of the community members. But there happened to be a member of the community at Rock Worlds. I didn't get his name, and I apologize because he deserves a lot of credit because he did make Double Dinosaur tokens, and they were worth every penny that I spent on them because I love them and they're my favorite, and I am using them in Ottawa as well because I'm using Double Dinosaur.
And he sold like a dozen sets while there.
Also, want to point out while we're talking about Double Dinosaur, and you were talking about how that's a figure designed by players. That was the one figure from the stories I've heard of all the champions who have made figures that got the least pushback. They had
That's great to hear, though.
They had that figure in the can, ready to go. They emailed it to WizKids almost like the night they won, and heard nothing after the fact. So,
well, considering like some of the horror stories we've heard with some past champions, like that's great. That's actually really great to hear that it was. Just go. If
I was to say there was a horror, I think the one that I heard had the most like back and forth was Daniel joins Mr. Sinister because he gave them an initial one, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head with alcohol me, so bear with me. He mentioned that he sent it to them. They sent him a point value. He was like, try this one. Okay, how about this one? So
I know that Jake had a lot of back and forth, and Kevin had a lot of back and forth with Faust.
Kevin had a lot of back, not the fourth. That's his story. That's how he tells it. He had a lot of fourth, not a lot of back. Anyway, so yes, figures from off the board. Expect it to stick around, and hopefully, if you notice, the higher the rarity, the more likely you are to get a physical copy of it. So like the penguin is going to be super rare, and you get a penguin with it. Rick Jones was at Chase. We got all three of his pogs with him. So
Tony Zuko came in an OP kit.
Dormammu's Mindless Ones came in an OP kit. So
White Rabbit was an Ultra Chase.
Yep.
Came with her pog.
So that is one trend I'm noticing. It's a trend I wish wouldn't happen, but at the same time, a figure who's uncommon, we can't expect the extra cardboard or common even. I think Vermin's a common or uncommon. He's not very high rarity.
Uncommon.
He's uncommon. They're not going to put the extra work into an uncommon as much as they're going to put into a super rare.
Only because obviously what we're meaning by that is that there is going to be a significant amount more made of a common or an uncommon than there will be of a super rare or Jace.
All right.
All right.
Hopefully we answered your question and then some. He's actually scratched off 3 or 4 more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
damn it, Jason, you covered my entire night.
Even funnier is episode 101 is about design flow, and this is a part of the flow of the design that if you haven't been paying attention over the past couple of years, you really had to adapt to and be ready for. So yeah, good for pointing that out. See, critical thinking for competitive play. That's the new motto. Carry on.
All right. So in all the past Monday nights on your live Monday night show, you've been talking about the upcoming Batman set and how I'm getting kind of excited for it. So from what you guys know about the set so far, as far as all the stuff leaking out so far and what you can analyze and what you know already, can you tell whether or not this is going to be a successful set? Like, are people really going to like this set, or is this going to be more critically panned? Or like, is there some way you can gauge whether or not this is looking to be a good set?
I can already tell you, based on the reactions that I've seen, this set is going to be the most polarizing set ever.
Yeah.
For a number of reasons. One, JSA fans hate this set because they don't get 300-point versions of JSA characters. I'm of course exaggerating, but they want higher point versions of JSA characters that we already kind of have to a certain degree. I mean, granted, when in the next rotation we do lose the Jay Garrick Flash, and but we still also have Kingdom Come versions of a lot of the JSA characters, and these are I try to use the excuse that if you look at the design of Wildcat versus the design of the rest of the JSA, this is a JSA before Wildcat taught them how to fight, which is it's the excuse I use, but it's not really the main excuse. And I do understand why a lot of JSA fans are going to be angry about this set. At the same time, I do like a lot of the characters from the JSA, and I do love the versions that we're getting out of the set because I'm a player who likes having a lot of figures on the board. Because they're so low point, and very cost efficient in each sense, I don't mind these versions of the characters. But I also do understand the vitriol towards them and the anger towards them from true hardcore JSA fans. And I'm not gonna nonplus them by it. But as far as individual figures, like if you're to talk about the opinion of the set based on the effect it's going to have on the metagame, one figure completely changes everything we do in the metagame very shortly, and that is the Bizarro Green Arrow. Everything about that figure is going to change the way we play HeroClix for a little while. It's in such a massive way that like it's got the conversation going, and a lot of the high level players are starting to look at this figure and go, "Oh my God, this opens up doors, it closes others. Strategies that you were fundamentally safe with are gone, or just unreliable now. Like the way that this figure just kind of changes how we react in the game and how the competitive game already functions is so up there. Like it's going to cause a mixture of anger and glee. Glee from people who are willing to use this figure or play around this figure, but then as such allow them to play the strategy they want to play as a result of it. Also by players using this figure who get, I mean, this is going to mark the return of the temple. It's unbelievable the effect that this single figure is going to have on the game. In addition to the fact that if you look at a lot of teams nowadays that have started using the round table, and if you look at the builds, a lot of people look at the round table, or sorry, the Quinjet build as an example. You get a number of ID cards, but you also have a number of very small point figures. Now, you're no longer limited in just the Ultron drones and the Quinjet as your characters to call people in. Atomica can start calling in characters because you've got very low point versions of characters with the same names as JLA characters. Look, take for instance, you got the Marvel Sandman card can now bring out DC Sandman Wesley Dodds. That's a 25-point figure, right? And you look at other 25, 35-point versions of the figures there, you get a lot of open doors in being able to build with the round table. I mean, think about using Jarvis in conjunction with the round table. Jarvis now has 1,000 options to say, I'm better suited for these foes with. You throw a Green Lantern card on your round table, put the new Alan Scott Super Rare on your sideline. Hey, Jarvis, what's up? You're out of the game now. I now have free barrier every turn. There's a bigger effect on the competitive game in this set that a lot of people could be missing, or a lot of the competitive players are starting to see, and they're really, really happy about this. But at the same time, a lot of the casual players who will play games of like 600, 500, 400, 700, 800 points, they're not going to be happy with the set because this a lot of the figures for their themes, for their teams, just they barely make a dent in the number of points that they can play with. Did you have anything out there, Amber? Because you know me, I'm exploding.
No, actually, building off of what you were just saying there, I feel like this is the first time in a really long time we have had a set where the most common people to be picking up this set will be competitive players. Yeah. Like casuals, maybe if they like Gotham Underworld, Batman villains, or possibly Outsiders.
They're casual players, not casuals.
No, I'm just saying, like, those are like, there's a lot of really fun Batman villains in the set.
Yeah.
But like this isn't a set for collectors.
No.
Like there isn't anything from, like, we have a group of friends that we originally started playing the game with like a decade ago, and they've basically just kind of grown up, kind of moved on, mostly just collect more than anything else. And almost all of them have been like, we'll kind of skip this set. And that's rare. Mm-hmm. Like it's taken me aback that we've actually had that reaction from them. Meanwhile, all of the friends that we have met over the last 4 or 5 years playing competitive, they're all going crazy for this set. So it's like this huge, like Jason said, this big polarizing thing where The collectors aren't going after the set, but the competitive players are.
Mm. And another thing too is the chases aren't the big umphers this time. They barely have, like, these chases barely have an effect on the sealed game whatsoever,
which is really nice.
I love that for one, which balances the set a little bit for sealed. There's still a lot of power in the super rares that needs to get but at the same time, they said a while ago complexity in the super rares versus less complexity in the things, and then I saw Razak Ghul and I called BS. Although the Lazarus Pit's not exactly that hard to use as far as complexity. Bane, I can't wait to see Bane in action. I can't wait to see the figure. He's like, it was the 105 points with 11 clicks with just charge, high stats, and that Venom thing. Oh, I can't wait to use him. He's going to be so fun. But, I mean, that's a character that could shock somebody. Who knows? Overall, just to kind of seal the deal there, is yes, this is going to be less popular with the casual players, more popular with the competitive players. But at the same time, this is part of that design flow conversation. This was the target of my design flow conversation in episode 101, where I said, watch what's happening, guys. Be aware. Be ready. Because part of this whole curbing the point value thing is a lead-in to what we've been saying on the Meta Lab for a little bit now, is we might see the end of resources very soon, which means we need the return of the pit crew. The pit crew, of course, back, pre-resource days. If you had a team, let's talk about pre-card era figures. If you had a team, your team consisted of rookie Black Panther from Infinity Challenge, a paramedic from Explosion, a con artist or 2 or 3 or 4, and then your team.
And depending on whether or not your character had hypersonic speed, probably a Mandroid armor.
Yeah, and that was what we referred to that as a pit crew, because these are the guys that enabled play, play was very difficult back then because we didn't have things like Indomitable. Willpower wasn't on a lot of figures, but it also didn't add anything to your defense. So you couldn't throw a willpower figure out there. It was a very hard time to play, but you needed these guys to enable things. Black Panther was outwit. I mean, so this we could see the return of that, but also expect equipment to increase in value or usefulness as well, because the equipment seems to be the direction they're going. I'm okay with that. And also, if we do see resources, it's going to be these singleized versions of it. Similar to like what we have with the Quinjet, as well, the Punisher van, where you have to invest in a specific thing in order to use that resource, which means the resources still have a place in the game, just a more specific place, which is what a lot of people complained about from the outset of them, was the resources. I mean, why any character can wear the Infinity Gauntlet? Well, I mean, that's, we have a set that explains why that idea exists coming up called What If. Happy 15th anniversary HeroClix. Woo! That's 15th anniversary for us, too, of the game. Woo! We should do a lot next year. That's going to be awesome. Anyway, you want to add, it looks like.
Yeah, sorry, that made me, not entirely on topic as to what we were talking about right now, but it led into that was I'm thinking that, I know you had mentioned it, I think it was on Meta Lab, possibly, when we were thinking that Age of Ultron is going to be on the bubble, and now we're thinking that it might not be.
It's not even close to the bubble now, because Patrick reminded me that Worlds changed to June.
But I think one of the other arguments of keeping Age of Ultron is that if we keep Age of Ultron now and get rid of it next rotation, we can rotate.
All resources are gone.
Yeah, we
and
can
all
rotate Round Table and Teleporter at the same time, rather than having one rotate and the other one stay, because they were released like 6-7 months separated from each other.
Good observation. Yeah. All right, next question, Mike.
All right, so just as in a follow-up to what you were just saying about how this bizarre character is going to revolutionize everything, is this going to be like in the same way like Nick Balls of Fury type of character, or is this going to
take the Nick Fury revolution and erase it.
Uh-huh.
Flip it on its head.
Flip it on its head.
Bend it over.
Because it actually it puts doubt in Nick Fury as a thing that's usable. For instance, let's say, okay, as an explanation, because I haven't explained him in full, it's a trait that the Bizarro Green Arrow has, where when a character adjacent to him is being attacked by a range attack, you can in fact change the target to the Green Arrow,
even if it becomes an illegal target.
So if you're shooting my guy, you have 10 range. The Green Arrow is behind my guy at 11 range. I can still say, well, that's the guy adjacent to me. You're attacking me now. And what's more, he's got an ability where if he's targeted with a range attack, you can give him an action token, and it's reverse range combat expert, where your opponent, you can now turn your opponent and say they're either -2 attack, -2 damage, or -1 damage, -1 attack. He also starts with invulnerable, I want to point out. So now think about how much of the competitive game, and heck, when you go to a local tournament, how much of the game starts at range. Let's get there. Like, the game starts at range. The game is played at range a lot in competitive play, even in local tournaments. Like, you're playing at a range game. So what this guy does is it takes your range attacks and says, you're attacking me now. But what's worse is your attack is probably -2 damage. And I have invulnerable. So unless you're dealing penetrating damage, I don't care. That's the kind of effect he's going to have on the game. So now even imagine, let's go with Nick Fury, because the redirecting attack is a trait. You attack the main guy, the guy that you want to attack with Nick Fury. Fine, you get your +1 attack, +1 damage against that guy, but you're not attacking that guy anymore. You're attacking me, which means you don't get your +1 attack, +1 damage. And then if I chose to give myself an action token, and he's indomitable as well, so I'm probably going to give myself an action token.
He's not indomitable.
Isn't he indomitable? I could have sworn he was indomitable. I thought they were all indomitable with all the same stat line as a
Really doesn't matter, though.
It doesn't matter. It's still, you're not dealing penetrating damage to the guy. I go -1 to your damage, and it's 3 damage. So unless you've outwitted my invulnerable already, it's negligible damage at best, or non-damage. It's such a change to the point where it actually takes the guy that everybody was afraid of and says, don't care. So
he is actually a very smart answer to Nick Fury.
And he's only 50 points.
That too.
Yeah. And always look at, as well, a lot of people will argue, well, in order to deal with it, you can just do this, 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 and this. And the reason we say this flips the game on the head is because you need to do this, 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 and this to get around him, which means if you don't include this, 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 and this, you're not ready for him. Which means on another turn now, he's flipped the game that you're forced to build against him. And that's what a lot of people refer to as broken is, if you're not ready to deal with him, you're done. You're going to have a hard time with him. Now, granted, there's always the strategy of directly target. Just understand that you're going to have to overcommit to 50 points. Okay, I'm over it. All right,
or make fast friends with incapacitate.
Yeah, I mean, there's those few you have options, not many, and that's the kind of revolution we're dealing with right now. We could see a resurgence of close combat attacks, people. We might be playing close combat games, and it's I mean, I charged with my hate bears at the Rock World Cup, and I was shocked I got to do it. So this is what we're dealing with as far as a revolution in the game, and I have no problem with that because I love when the game gets flipped on its head. I absolutely do, and this is a good way of flipping it on its head, if you ask me. Just, you know, creating something that's been in the game, or turning to something that's been in the game the whole time and say, you're good now. Have fun.
Yeah, incapacitate.
All right.
So next question would be I noticed, unless I missed something somewhere in the Batman set, there isn't any giants in this Batman set, right?
Nope.
All right. So is that like a Marvel thing? Like, because in the Civil War we got the Goliath and the other girl, and stuff like it.
Gotcha.
And So where do giants fit within, like, if I'm trying to build a meta team, is having a giant like Goliath or any of the Hank Pym, Ant-Man or Giant Man or Goliath or any like that, or do they somehow work within the meta game? Like, can I build with them too? Like, to try and include them?
It depends on the giant. One of the most successful giants right now is Devil Dinosaur. He's been quite successful. But as far as just like, it depends on the giant. That's really what it comes down to, is how good is the figure that we're talking about. A lot of people do reference Ultron 7 as a really good use of Colin, because he can, his like higher point, like, so when you pay 30 points for him, he actually counts as 125 instead of 120. That 5 points goes a long way in ID cards, let me tell you. The problem with that, of course, is because he's so giant, he's got a big target on his head. And because he's only 2 clicks with the big targets on its head, it's an easy takeout. And that's one of the things about giants, is because of the size of the target on their head, it depends on what they bring to the board to become worth using. Now, we just spoke at great length about how great Arrow is going to be for close combat attacks, or for forcing close combat attacks, which is even better when you consider that a giant has reach. You have the giant reach of 2, or Colossals have a giant reach of 3, which means if you can get over the character that the Green Arrow is defending and get a shot in on the Green Arrow, a good solid shot, hopefully let in with some outwit or something like that, because it's a close combat attack, he's not doing much in the way of stopping the damage from that, which means now the giants do have significantly more value, or the ability of giant reach has more value as well. So now, is it necessary to have a giant in a competitive team? Absolutely not, because the competitive team depends on what you need for your team to function. Even the Quinjet's not actually a giant figure. It's believe it or not, it's not considered a giant. It's just a really big thing that can occupy multiple elevations, which really helps its ability to draw a line of fire. So understand with the new giant rules, because giants and colossals are now such gigantic targets, if you're using them, a lot of people are bringing them indoors again, because even though they have the ability to shoot over things, being shot back at isn't so fun.
This kid's office is your friend.
Yeah, but it's also your enemy if you're playing like a giant colossal based thing, like, I don't know, something that rhymes with a Schmaniac Schmoschmith.
No, you just need to learn how to play while you're on tilt.
So it's not a matter of just looking at a thing and saying, I need a giant on my team. It's a matter of, how does that giant fit into my strategy? Something like Stature, if you happen to be building around, say, Thunderbolts theme team with maybe just building around the Thunderbolts ATA, he is a good option. He's a bit of a bruiser. He does a ton of damage. What's that?
She.
Did I say Stature? Because I meant Atlas, because she's not a Thunderbolt. She's a young Avenger. I meant Atlas. I know Hero Clix, I swear. Names are hard. There's 2 giants in Civil War, and Civil War is such a negligible set.
There's 3.
What?
There's 3.
Stature, Atlas, and Goliath, right? The guy that died. And they're actually reasonably pointed when it comes down to it. I mean, they're all under 100 points. So if you can fit them into your team, don't force it. But if they fit, use them. Anything you want to add?
I think right now, like Jason was saying, where giants aren't necessarily needed in meta, I think a lot of that comes with the fact that they're being overshadowed by the colossals. When you think that the colossals that have made it in, when we see the colossal retaliation happening with Adam, Brimstone, Solaris, all of these are just going crazy because of their really, really low point dials with 1 click and colossal retaliation. So those are showing up a lot more in meta, and if you can fit them in, why the hell not? Whereas when you're looking at giants, like, there aren't a lot, and the ones that are out there aren't always the best. And not every set is going to have a giant. When you're talking about the Joker's Wild set, if you think of the themes that are in that set, we have Batman villains is the main theme. We have Outsiders, which admittedly I don't know a lot about Outsiders, at least the original run of Outsiders when Batman was running the team. JSA, and our chases are Bizarros. So unless like the Bizarro Atom is actually a giant, which would be really funny, none of those themes lean towards having giants. So the fact that they're not in the set doesn't mean that they're going. I'm
making things up.
I made that up. I literally just made that up because I thought that would be funny because Adam shrinks, and if he was Bizarro, he would grow.
They have a colossal Adam, remember?
Yeah, I know, but
from Earth 2.
Yes, but that's not Ray Palmer. Why you gotta be like this? So anyways, what I'm saying is that the themes of that set doesn't necessarily lean towards giants. Yeah, no, you've completely just
Have I derailed you properly?
Completely derailed me. Derailed me more than the like actual tangent derailing.
I was just beating you to the comments section. That's all. So yeah, watch the theming of a set. Find out where a colossal or a giant actually fits in. And that's when you can get an idea of when you're going to see more giants and colossals. I mean, if you enjoy giants and colossals, don't by all means use them. Just understand the risks that come with them, because they went from risks to risks, especially if you don't win macro. So, all right.
Yeah.
Next question.
So, all right. All right, back to the creating characters and pogs and everything like that. And I just happen to have some of the pogs that my guys that I work with on Thursday nights. Like these happen to be the demonic arm with the mystics keyword and everything like that. So I want to know. Can you try and explain to me once again? Help me understand what prevents other character, the opponent, from not taking Mystic's damage? What kind of attack, or how does that work again?
Okay, so in order to stop if you want to deal damage to a character with Mystics without taking the Mystics, for one, the source of the damage can't be an attack. That would be poison or something that says give it. Like, there's what's the guy? Puff Adder, where it says give this character a power action. That character within 3 squares takes 1 penetrating damage or something like that. Or was it Cottonmouth? One of the Serpent Society has an ability that basically how I described works that way.
Basically, poison and special poison.
Poison and special, some form of damage from a source that doesn't come from an attack is how you avoid Mystics, or the solves all problem solver Pulse Wave.
Or if you're really smart about Incapacitate.
Yeah, if you can deal pushing damage with Incapacitate, but not. Okay, so the way Incapacitate works is if you put the second token on them and they don't have Indomitable Willpower, they will take a pushing damage. Pushing damage is caused by the application of the action token, and therefore is not caused by an attack. So if the character didn't have Willpower Indomitable when they took the second action token, and you dealt you attacked with Incapacitate, Mystics would not trigger against you. If they have 2 action tokens and then you incapacitate again, because the attack is triggering the damage, then you actually do take Mystic's damage from that. This is on the rules team. I'm not making this up. I'm not even kidding. So Incapacitate works 50% of the time, all the time.
This is also one of those powers that deals no damage, dealing damage that deals no damage, so it can't deal critical hit damage. That's a thing.
Or you can attack another character that they have with mind control, and then have that character attack the character with Mystics,
True.
And then they take the Mystics damage, and you laugh at them. I've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Voodoo.
No mind control. Such a great power.
And so those are the best ways around Mystics. Deal damage without attacking. Or external sources. Mr. Mix's Pit, he's a great way to just, you all take 2 action tokens, and because you're within the Pulse Wave, you don't have your Indomitable Willpower, therefore you take pushing damage. I think that's about it. Those are about your, those are your solves all for Mystics. So deal damage without attacking, or just push them somehow. Add action tokens to them. The Abominable Snowman is good for that. Somebody played an Abominable Snowman. It was 1 win away from top 16 at the Rock Super Qualifier in Michigan that we went to. He was playing an Abominable Snowman, and I think he ended up 2-2 and just skipped the cut on points. Yeah. I was impressed with that guy. I mean,
there was a lot of really cool teams that came out of that Super. I'm glad I went to that.
Very unique players. I was definitely on an off time at that time, so I was playing.
I blame the fact that we were both sick too.
Yeah.
And
then I didn't get a lot of practice time, and my practice time was spent losing. So, I was on the gauntlet for a little while. What do you want me to do? And then I took Tom's team. I was like, I like your team because I want to use Devil Dinosaur. So how can I make your team Jay's team? And then I went the way I did. And
my team was basically, I found out that I was going like 4 days before I was going. So it was like...
No, you were going the whole time.
Sorry. I found out that I was playing 4 days before I was going. And I was like, okay, what team can I make work? All right, Titano team doesn't work anymore because of Star Sapphire battery. He needed that to work. All right, fallback is Skull Ship. All right, we no longer have Sinestro battery. How do we make this work? Okay, we made it work. All right, I made top 16.
You're welcome.
And then I was stupid and didn't make top 8 when I really should have, but I was on tilt and didn't know how to play my game. I got too pissed off at myself to actually play that game properly and kind of gave up when I really shouldn't have. So.
Yeah, we didn't practice anything with your team. What we should have done was put you on that WizKids office map.
Yeah.
And tormented you with it until you learn. I put you on tilt from the get-go. And it's like, I hate this map. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to put me on this map? You ready for this? You ready?
I will find a way to make it work. No, I did not. Well, when I should have done better.
All right.
That's on me.
All right. Next question.
Alrighty. So, as you mentioned on the top of the show, that Doctor Strange is out this weekend, I thought it'd be somewhat appropriate, well, kind of appropriate to throw out a question where is there the best piece of Doctor Strange, like what if I were building a team around Doctor Strange, which one would I want to work with first?
Before I answer, all-time golden or current modern competitive?
Let's say all-time golden.
All-time golden? The one from Galactic Guardians that makes Astros Doctor Stranges. 196 points. It gets to make 13-point characters who are just obnoxious and can incapacitate. Sure. I don't mind that. And then move 8 squares as a free action? Okay.
I personally really like the fear itself. Doctor Strange, I honestly cannot remember what he does at this moment in time, but I remember
he was a really offensive psychic blaster that had probability control and the ability to reroll a single die roll. So if you happen to be making a leadership roll, or your opponent was making a breakaway roll on your turn or on their turn or something like that, or like you could take a single die roll and just re-roll that, kind of like Prime.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I remember really liking him.
Yeah. And if I was to go modern, the OP, it's such a hard pick between the OP Kit one and the con exclusive D20 one.
Those are the only two in modern right now, right?
No, Civil War, prize one. He's terrible. because of those first 2 words, Civil War.
What? Civil War and Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
No.
He was one of the grand prize figures. You took an Namor Hammer. That's why we didn't get Doctor Strange.
No, I know that. That's why we didn't. But really?
Yeah. There's a Doctor Strange in Civil War.
Okay.
He's the one that like you can give
sitting
everybody
on candles or something like that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh wait, but doesn't that actually affect opposing characters as well?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Now I remember because he's bad. Now I remember why.
It's like, oh my god, he was so bad. But anyway, one of the big things about the OP Kit one is that because he does have stealth, he gets that bing off of that Midnight Suns ATA, which is great. You can't see me, I'm Doctor Strange. I'm just in the middle. Like I've had to deal with the "you can't see me" Midnight Sun strategy and I have never thrown dice so hard in my life.
I remember doing the Damon Hellstrom team. I really liked that.
Yeah, and I remember throwing dice because I was trying to use. I had acquired a second speed demon in order to try a double speed demon team because I was like, 2 speed demons is gross. This is terrible. Why did I do this?
I was like, Damon Hellstrom and Enchantress, yeah.
Yeah, it was a really good. It was a really good team.
Why did I not end up playing that team? Because it rotated, right?
Oh yeah, just before because the Enchantress was in Justice League 52.
Yeah.
And there's 2 Enchantresses on the team. We happen to have 2 Enchantresses, which was weird. There's 2 Enchantresses, Damon Hellstrom, and what was the other thing? No, it was Enchantress. It was not Enchantress. The Fatal 5 one.
Oh, Emerald Empress.
Emerald Empress. That's why you really liked the team.
Yeah.
Because she had calculator team ability, and that was a big enabler. But the lack of Enchantress on the team was what really killed it. And yeah, because of the change to ATAs, that team was still fully functional because it was still a mystical theme team.
Yeah.
So, and it had its own prop. It didn't need your prop.
Damn, I liked that team.
That was a really good. I can't remember who made that team, but whoever made that team was a brilliant genius and almost put Amber probably in the top 8 if she would have played that team in that year.
I did really good with that team.
Yeah, she frustrated me a lot. I think that was actually when you played that team. That was the day I built the 10th anniversary Swarm. Yeah, because like, why not? Let's see how this does. Why is this working? And then we ended up building you a Swarm team with entities, and that I should have ended up playing in the end because. Anyway, long story short, what were we talking about originally?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange. So yeah, overall, my favorite Doctor Strange is the Galactic Guardians one. Amber's overall favorite is
Fear Itself.
Fear Itself, all time. And then in modern, for competitive play, the OP Kit one just is really great. But the D20 one is also really good, and the Civil War one can eat a pile of hairy donkeys.
Bag of dicks.
Or, Amber can go and swear.
It's Patron Hangout, we're allowed!
KJ's watching! KJ Foster? The guy with the... No.
Sorry, KJ.
He's the accountant at the school.
Oh, okay.
Who encourages the kids to watch the show.
Well, they're not supposed to watch this one.
KJ, take the Patron Hangout off of the list. Of course, my consumption of alcohol is probably the reason they shouldn't be watching anyway.
I just downed an entire tall boy today in the span that we've been live. Like, this shouldn't be shown.
All good. Right, Mike, next question.
All right, last one here. So a couple weeks ago, I actually beat the judge, and I felt really good about it because it was this really, I guess it was a fun week we did, and it was just build a theme team and one extra person that didn't have any corresponding words or anything to it like that, and they inherited the theme team along with them. So the judge was playing the 4 turtles from the I presume it was from the most recent 4 turtles and he also added on Turtle from Flash.
I like it. I see what he did there.
So my Avengers was able to eventually take him down once I guess I had Iron Man that I was able to range shoot the Flash Turtle down. Once I got rid of that, I was able to work around with the other 4 turtles. Now, my question is his team does that make it a tentpole team? The way, I guess, the way he operated it and stuff like that, because we were also playing on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles map with the underlayer sewer type of thing too. So maybe that had some type of effect to it like that. So after kind of thinking about that in my head, is that a tentpole team or?
I get where the image of it being a tent pole comes from, is the fact that you killed Turtle and then your team worked again. When people refer to a tent pole team, what they're referring to is one of the figures on your opponent's team takes up more than half of the points of the team, and then everything else on the team enables that character to be amazing. But if that character happens to die, then everything crumbles on them, right? Like a good example, look at almost every single Krang build. If Krang dies, that team is just done. I mean, I've seen people just concede because, well, my Krang is dead. There's no way I can beat you with a Justin Safer. Let's just call it at the points we have, right? I mean, granted, technically on the rules, when you concede, you have to give all your points up, and that's how that works. But you know, so that's when they're referring to a tent pole, that's what we're referring to. Just so we get a quick idea of, because I can understand sometimes these things can be a little daunting. Is a tent pole, like I just said, if more than half your points are spent on a single figure, and then the rest of your points are spent on making that figure great, but if that figure dies, everything crumbles, that's a tent pole. And the reason they call it a tent pole is, if you look at a circus tent, there's usually one main supporting thing over this big cloth. But if this main supporting thing goes down, the whole tent comes down. Or if you go camping, you have, you know, a certain number of tent poles across a tent. But if you take one of them out, the whole tent kind of crumbles. That's why they refer to it as a tent pole. And then there's a one-man army. That's exactly how. There's no question. One figure on the team. All eggs, one basket. Let's go. And then there's the swarm team, which is the opposite extreme of the one-man army. You'll see 6 to 9 figures on a swarm team sometimes. It's just, they're massive teams of, it's sometimes unmanageable messes unless a certain type of player can play them. And then there's what we commonly refer to as the balance team, where they often can be mistaken for tent poles, but they can also end up just being a team. It's often what we can call the team of good figures, where, you know, if I play a stack of figures who are really good, the team is going to do well. It may not necessarily win, but like there's oftentimes you saw people playing, I think it was Devil Dinosaur, Nighthawk Prime, Mr. Mix's Pitlick, and something else. I can't remember what the other figure was. I think it might have been Atomica even. So if you look at that team at face, it might even be a round table to keep it going. If you look at that team at face value, it's like, that's a good figure, that's a good figure, and that's a good figure, and then you got a round table. Well, that's a good team. That's what you often refer to as a balance team. Or, you know, they mix and match elements of a swarm team and a tent pole team to kind of exceed. So you'll have, I think, no, my team's a swarm. But if you look at the team, sometimes you'll have 1 or 2 small characters, but you'll have 3 or 4 characters that can identify as attackers or could create more characters or anything like that. And that's where balanced teams kind of come out. And that's just the general reference of them all. But then there's also control lockdown teams, which is what your opponent you're referring to was attempting to do with the turtle. Oftentimes, a control lockdown team has 1 or 2 elements that take your team and limit your gameplay. A good example of this is if you see a Felix Faust, a con-exclusive Felix Faust across the table, guess what? That's a control team whether they intended it or not. It's a control lockdown because of the way Felix Faust functions. Turtle is another example of a figure who will control lockdown, and oftentimes, you know, if the turtle works against them, they will just find a way to be rid of the turtle when the time suits them. And that's kind of that's guess what you would call the broad strokes of teams. I mean, there's combinations of them. There's balanced swarms. There's swarmy tent poles. I had a team at one point that had a Freddie Freeman and 5 things that enabled Freddie Freeman along with a Johnny Quick for a Rock, back when Rock was no tactics. It was like, I think it was a Blind Owl. There was 2 Star Labs techs. Like at face value, that seems like a swarm team, but it was really a balanced tent pole where I had 2 figures that could do a ton of damage, and I had a bunch of stuff that enabled them to do that damage. That makes sense? Okay. So again, what your opponent was playing was a control lockdown, but once you got rid of the lockdown, your team worked, and that's one of those things about control lockdowns. If you can stop the lockdown and just go, you do gain some momentum on them. I'm done ranting.
You would know better than
Did I miss
What
any
he
classifications?
No. Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Okay. Just want to make sure. Great. Mike, next question.
Well, that was more or less it. Like, and I scratched off all the questions on here. Like, I had one final one, but I don't know if you guys can be able to answer it. Because it had something to do with the distribution and stuff like that. My store has been getting some distribution issues and stuff like that, and is it only just that one store, or do you guys hear from anyone where else around the Great Lakes area that has issues with like either Diamond or because I understand there's like two like WizKids use two distribution companies, the Diamond and the other guys names I can't know. Alliance. Okay, there we go. Like, and unfortunately, I've seen in the past month. Our turtles got pushed back a week, and now, unfortunately, this coming Thursday, as the time of this recording, our Joker's Wild set isn't going to be this coming Thursday, but next Thursday. Like I'd say, everything's delayed. Like, is it just us or?
So my understanding, and I've talked to a few people in the States recently with the recent delay of Joker's Wild. That Joker's Wild delay is North America, so we all get it on the 16th. That's not news necessarily. We got that in the WizKids email. That said, if you're getting delayed past actual releases, from what I've heard, I can't remember if it's either Alliance or Diamond. Honestly, the two are the same company, believe it or not. Diamond is actually a subsidiary of Alliance, or the other way around. I can't remember which. But one is bigger than the other, and they're both the same company. So when you deal with them, one of the companies has had some issues with delaying some sets, and this is what's called allocation. The more your store regularly orders, the higher your priority on the list of things. So what ends up happening is if I run a store and I order 50 cases of HeroClix on a regular basis, that's a lot of HeroClix, right? Let's not kid ourselves, right? That 50 cases is 100 bricks. If I'm ordering 100 bricks on a regular basis, and Amber's running a store, and they order 10 cases on a regular basis. Now, unfortunately, 105, or sorry, you said 10, I said 50 cases. Sorry. Let's say 52 cases came in. Well, because I'm ordering 50 on a regular basis, I'm a high-end customer. I'm the high roller, as it was. I get priority. Here's your 50. And because Amber only orders 5 or 10 on a regular basis, she gets whatever's left over, and that's called the allocation. So depending on the size of the store that you regular at and the number of cases that they order on a regular basis, that's kind of the priority order of things. And because of the distribution company shutdown on Turtles 2, there was an initial release shortage, which could have affected allocation on some stores. So of course the higher level stores get priority. The stores that order 50 plus cases of turtles get priority over the ones that might order 2 or 3. So that's kind of how that conversation generally goes. If there is an issue with the number of them that do come to the distribution center, the highest priority goes to the highest ordering retailers, because money makes conversation, or money is the source of the flow. Wherever the money is coming from is where the river flows, right? So the river being the cases goes to the biggest money opening, whereas everything that's kind of a trickle might get a couple drops here and there if there's not enough water to spread across. So if you're coming from a smaller store, or a store that orders in the realm of a handful of cases, or orders enough for the store and then has 2 other players to play, or that buy boxes on a regular basis or something like that, or they order enough to appease 5 or 6 players and then order 2 or 3 cases just to keep on the shelf, they'll get lower priority than a lot of. And I can't believe there's stores that do order tons and tons of cases. A lot of them are online retailers who have been actually getting a little bit of a rough time with this of late.
Yeah, they were really rating them. They were actually.
I know Troll and Toad had a big problem with it for a while. I don't know if they still do.
Yeah, over the summer or a little bit earlier, they were told that they're only allowed to order X amount, or that they will only ever be filled X amount, because they want to, that they want to give all of that product to brick and mortar stores. They don't want it sold online. They want it to be physically sold and picked up.
Yeah. So that's generally how distribution works as far as we're all concerned. I don't know what caused this. I'm not even going to speculate what caused the Joker's Wild delay. We got it delayed a week. This happens. It sucks that we find out the week before the set comes out, on the week of pre-releases. But, if your pre-release happen to have low turnout for whatever reason, be it the WKOs or whatever, you get that extra chance to kind of make up for it and make up for having that product. So there is that option. So, I think it covers the conversation with regards to distribution. I know somebody in the chat actually mentioned that's exactly how Alliance and Diamond act. So
yeah. That's about as much as we know. We know that our thanks to our talks with WizKids and the products that we have actually been given to unbox for them, it is coming from Alliance. So I know that they'll have certain amounts set aside, I guess.
Yeah.
Because we got it about the same time that comicbook.com and figures.com got it. So I guess they'll have an X amount for their.
We got it a week after them. We are just really quick with filming and editing compared to them.
Fair enough.
Like we're fast with our filming and editing.
That's not it's not necessarily that they were given it a week early. That's Canadian Postal. That's getting it over the border. Yeah,
I mean, and there was also the anyway. This is a conversation I think we're supposed to be going into great detail about. I really should just avoid going over it right now because I don't want to mess up our relationship with the company. We got our stuff in time to get everything out, and everybody got a big wave of unboxings for Joker's Wild. So we got a ton of unboxings to work with, and now we've seen the pre-releases started. We've seen just about every figure from the set, so we're ready for the set now. Give it to us whenever it's ready.
I mean, it could even be something as strange as
could be related to WKS.
That too, or it could be something as simple as they ended up having a lot more people qualify for pre-releases than they were expecting, and they wanted to make sure that the product got out to the stores. So, I mean, everybody, as far as I know, everybody that did a pre-release got it.
Yeah.
So the product is there. It's just a matter of whether or not they have enough to send out to the stores.
KJ says this show's not on the list. We're good. All right.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. It's not on the list that he tells the parents to.
Well, yes. Considering there is a fair amount of alcohol that does get consumed while
I can't wait until I get a whiteboard to put behind me to do Metafix and start doing math lessons. I'm gonna make the teacher's job so much easier if we get that far. Anyway, was there anything else you had to add there, Mike?
No, that's it. They're all scratched off here.
That's okay. And a short week, which is good because I got to be up at 10 to 5 in the morning, which probably means I'm not sleeping.
I was gonna say, I'm like, you're not.
I have to be gone by then. Tom should be picking me up around that. I love Mr. Tom Kerr. Thank you for picking me up so early. I got to make sure I have everything for everybody who's borrowing stuff. Why do we do this to ourselves? And I look forward to the WKO tomorrow in Ottawa. Anybody who's going to be there, who's watching now, I'll see you there. You guys, if you watch the show, you know what I'm playing because I'm playing the same thing I played at Rock World Cup. So if you really want to counterplay me, go ahead. But I know at least 3 other guys coming with teams that can beat the counterplay to mine. So be careful. Be aware of that. But on that
I will
note,
not be there.
Amber unfortunately can't make it.
I will be working.
But a lot of people from the GTA are going down to Ottawa. That said, Mike, thank you very much for joining us.
Great to be here. I got to keep my streak going alive here now. So it's got to be on 14. What? At least 14, 15.
Yeah, this is Patron Hangout 15, and this is number 15 for Mike's appearance. Keep the streak alive. Longest running patron gets to keep the longest running hat. On that note, guys, if you want to join us as patrons, check us out at patreon.com/Clix. You too can become a member of the show and get cool action tokens like that. Like Mike just is going to throw them on the ground. Get some of the action tokens that we release that comes at $10 a month. $5 a month gets you downloadable content as far as recorded content and early access to content. $15 or $20 a month gets you a 1-hour hangout session with me, whether you want to be coached in HeroClix, learn some things, or just chit-chat, talk about your team. We can bounce ideas off of each other. That's an idea, too. $25 plus you get to build teams for us or come up with the ideas for us to play a game throughout the week. Mr. Thomas K., who was a patron last month, won't be one this month, did come up with a great idea of Celebrities versus Reporters, which should be coming out.
I am going to spend pretty much all of my kid-free day tomorrow editing it. So hopefully it will be up for the patrons tomorrow and out for the public on Sunday.
And then we've just added a recent thing. $35 a month gets you a live stream game with myself, which I do have to talk to Mr. Pedro about some more details.
Did he have a question for us?
He did have a question for us. Oh my goodness. I'm sitting here wrapping up and he had a question for us. I'm the least professional. Thank you, Amber. Good call. Good call. This is the perk. If you are a patron and you can't make the show, by all means, we'll answer your questions too. Look at me. I'm such a noob. Who's in charge of me?
Clearly not me.
Hold on. I gotta find the messages. Jeez, Amber. You're ruining my day. Whoops.
Oh, you went and closed the window that we needed open.
Why I do this? Why
are you going there?
Who's in charge? I thought I was checking the notifications. Anything to do with this? No. Okay, so we check the messages. View messages. There we go. View messages. Pedro Roca. Should I feel bad about the fact that I'm liking the Fast Forces pieces for the Joker's Wild more than the set ones? No, you should not be ashamed of that. This is one of the best Fast Forces I've seen in comparison to set figures in a while. The Riddler is going to be a fun figure for sure. Mr.
Go Penguin.
Mr. Free. Penguin. Oh my gosh. Penguin is the poor man's entity. There you go. I said it here. If you can afford Fast Force, but you can't afford Eclipso or Brainiac, have I got a deal for you? Get that Penguin, and not only will he possess or give stat bumps to a single figure, but if you happen to need another figure nearby him to get some stat bumps instead, make an attack against the 16 defense and go for gold, bro. It's just, oh my god. That Penguin is going to be something. The Riddler is going to be fun to pick dice with if you happen to get past this traded shape change. So yeah, don't feel guilty. There's some good stuff in there, and I can't wait to see what the other half looks like, to be brutally honest.
Mr. Freeze is cool at 100 points.
Because
the other guys
the main set's
points.
just so
I'm
good,
like,
yeah.
But yeah, I will definitely play all of them. Not necessarily competitive, but I will definitely play all of them because they are awesome.
The two Penguins in this set make me feel like they're apologizing for the Hyper Time Penguin. Like there's an apology going on for past Penguins somewhere, and I'm loving it. Like every Penguin since those ones has been amazing. It's unbelievable. So yeah, Pedro, there you go. Don't feel guilty about that at all. But we're wrapping up.
We were wrapping up.
Yeah. So yeah, Pedro is actually at the $35 value, and he will be live streaming a game of HeroClix with me very soon. And of course, if you're at a higher level, you get all the perks of the lower levels as well. So just if you're interested in supporting us directly, and we have our sponsors as well, you can support us through them. But if you want to do a little bit more direct support, check us out at patreon.com/marriedwithclicks, all one word. Without further ado, guys, have a wonderful evening. It's been a short patron hangout. It was great hanging out with you, Mike, and hope to see more patrons next month come December. Have a good night, everybody.